Hello, dear friends. I hope you're doing really well. On last Friday, I read Numbers chapter 12, and now I'm just going to say some things about it. Okay, what happened was that Miriam and Aaron, the sister and brother of Moses, they murmured against Moses. Well, they said bad things, ugly things against Moses. Okay, and why? Because Moses' wife was a Cushite woman. It means that she was, some people say, Ethiopian or Sudan background. Uh, there is a theory. Some people say that this wife was Sephora, but we know Sephora was a Midianite. And Midianites and Cushites are not the same. They're different people. Midianites come from Abraham. Cushites are different. Some people say that maybe Sephora passed away and that Moses married again with a Cushite woman. We don't know. And then, people have studied, and then there are some peoples in Asia, like in Mesopotamia, that are called Cushites. So it's I think it's Sephora. I think they were murmuring against Sephora. I don't know for sure, but what we know for sure, dear friends, is that Moses' wife was not from Israel. She was foreign. She was foreign. She was Cushite or from Ethiopia, or I don't know. But anyways, Miriam and Aaron talked against Moses because his wife was foreign and maybe dark. I don't know. Some people say that maybe Miriam was racist. I don't know. I'm not gonna go into that. Maybe so. Maybe she just didn't like foreign people. I mean, sometimes people are like that. But what was she gonna do? That's Moses' wife. It's not, you know, it's not her wife. It's Moses' wife. So, but somehow that bothered them, especially Miriam. It bothered Miriam, and so they said, "Has the Lord indeed spoken only through Moses, or has He not spoken through us and as well?" And the Lord heard it. So this is a bad situation because Moses is the leader. God picked Moses. Moses is the leader. Aaron is the high priest. He has an important job. Miriam is a prophetess. She's important too. But they're not the leaders. The only leader picked by God is Moses. So this situation, dear friends, maybe they were so upset, annoyed, I don't know, that Moses' wife was foreign, that maybe they would try to separate themselves from Moses and take some of Israel with them. And that, dear friends, that could not happen. Israel is one nation, one people. They couldn't separate themselves and especially because they have no reason to do that. Moses hasn't done anything wrong. So they're being, I don't know, they're being irresponsible. I don't know, they're being mean. I don't know, that they maybe want to try to form a different congregation. That's not right. That's just not right. And also, dear friends, there's something when I read on Friday, I didn't have time to say much because we had to go somewhere, so I didn't have time. But this situation of Moses with his wife, that is a foreigner, and Miriam and Aaron, that they kind of don't like her, they feel uncomfortable. I don't know what the thing is. I really don't know, but they don't like this, right? It pictures something else. Some people, like I heard somebody say, "Oh, it's racism." Maybe so. I don't know. I'm not gonna say, but it pictures something else that I heard too, because I always like this chapter. I always like this chapter. I like what God says about Moses, how he speaks for Moses, how he loves all of them. In this chapter, God is a father. God is so involved in Israel. He's in the midst of them. in the tabernacle. So we see a lot in the Old Testament that God judges. God judges, and people get angry, say, oh, God is always angry, and here is. No, God is in Israel, with Israel, always like a father, dear friends, taking care of them, protecting them, but also educating them and judging them because he's with them, he at least in the Old Testament, so he has to judge. If God is involved in something, he's not gonna just allow anything, say everything is okay. No, when good things, when things are good, then that's good, but when things are bad, God has to intervene. Now, these times are different times, dear friends. Since Jesus Christ died and resurrected, till now, until a little bit later, God is giving people time to repent and receive the salvation of Jesus. But dear friends, this time is not going to last forever. One day, God is going to judge this grace, period of grace that we have to receive the salvation of Jesus Christ is not going to last forever. This is gonna end, and the day that it ends, this period of grace, the day that it ends, that's it. God will judge. God will judge. Very different in the Old Testament is God with Israel. He's involved with Israel. He loves them, he protects them, and he educates and judges them. So it's different times, not different things. It's not the same period. Different. Old Testament is a period and New Testament is a different period. Okay, not the same thing. So, anyways, God is like a father to Israel, in this case to Aaron, Miriam, and Moses. So what does he do? He heard what they had been murmuring, and so he says, before he calls them, he says Moses was very humble, more than any man who was on the face of the earth. So isn't that something that God is saying, that Moses is the most humble man on earth? Okay, so what does that mean, dear friends? That Moses was not a problematic person. You know what I mean? I mean, we know we're at school, at work, or maybe in our families even. We know sometimes there's at least one, or sometimes maybe more problematic people. Yeah, Moses was not like that. He was not a problematic person. He was very humble. Okay, so what Aaron and Miriam are doing is mean. They're being mean. They're being kind of evil, I would say, right? The Lord did not like what they were doing. So suddenly the Lord said to Moses and Aaron and to Miriam, you three come out to the tent of meeting. So the three of them came out. So he's God, like a father calling his children, come to to you three, come to the tent of meeting. Okay. Then the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood at the doorway of the tent, and he called Aaron and Miriam. When they had both come forward, he said, hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, shall make myself known to him in a vision. I shall speak with him in his dream. Not so with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my household. With him I speak mouth to mouth, even openly, and not in dark sayings. And he beholds the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant, against Moses? So the anger of the Lord burned against them, and he departed. So he is confronting Aaron and Miriam. He's telling them that, I just read it, that not only that Moses is faithful in all his house, that when he talks to prophets, he speaks to prophets through a vision, through dreams, but to Moses he speaks face to face, directly, clearly. And Moses is his servant and he's faithful in all his house. And the question was, why were you not afraid to speak against my servant, against Moses? So even speaking against somebody, not hurting them, not punching them, not kicking them, nothing, not pushing them, just speaking, it's something very serious. Something very serious. So after that, the anger of the Lord burned against them, and he departed. And then, when the cloud had drawn from over the tent, Miriam was leprous as white as snow. So Aaron didn't get the leprosy, but Miriam did. Miriam became all leprous. She was leprous as white as snow. And then Aaron told Moses, please, he said, oh my Lord, I beg you, do not account this sin to us in which we have acted foolishly and in which we have sinned. And then, he asked Moses to pray for Miriam. And Moses did. Moses said, Lord, oh God, heal her, I pray. But the Lord said to Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, would she not bear her shame for 7 days? Let her be shut up for 7 days outside the camp, and afterwards she may be received again. So God will heal her. He's going to heal Miriam because she's now leprosy, but she has to go to the outside of the camp. Do you remember like outside of the camp were those people that had leprosy, that were in an unclean condition? They were not part of the camp. They have to be outside the camp. Now Miriam is gonna go there. How embarrassing! Now I mean, embarrassing. I mean, I say that because she's the sister of Moses. She's important. She's a prophetess. But now she has to go with the lepers and with the unclean people outside the camp for 7 days. Okay, but God is gonna heal her leper. He's gonna heal her, but he just has to go outside the camp 7 days. So all this story, dear friends, after she goes to the 7 days, she goes back to the camp normal, and then they will continue on their journey. But what an interesting story! How words are so important, aren't they? They just remember, but it was bad. What they were doing was really bad, and I don't know if I said it. I think I started saying it, but I didn't continue. This story has a bigger picture. Like I said, some people say that Miriam was racist. Maybe she was, but there is a bigger thing here, and it is that Moses, dear friends, Moses is Moses, okay? But he is also a picture of Jesus. He's not Jesus. He's a picture of Jesus in the Old Testament. He's a picture of Jesus. And his wife, his foreign wife, is a picture, okay? Is a picture of the church. His wife is not the church. The church does not exist in the Old Testament at all. The church is a mystery. The church does not exist in the Old Testament. But the church, in some ways, in some stories, are portrayed as the bride, as the wife of the leader. In this case, Moses is the leader. Moses is that one like Jesus. He's not Jesus, obviously. Moses is Moses, but he's like that shepherd, leader like Jesus, and his wife, who happens to be foreign, is a picture of the church, dear friends. Because the church, of course, there are all nationalities in the church, but it's mostly Gentile. There are Jewish people now that are believers in Jesus, and that's great. But the church is mostly Gentile, right? And we have Miriam and Aaron, and especially Miriam, that she feels maybe a little jealousy, right? I mean, it's not hate, okay? It's not hate. She just feels jealous. Sometimes Israel is a little bit jealous of the church. I'm not saying the church is perfect, no. But there's sometimes this friction, this discomfort, this I don't know how to say it, this discomfort, some jealousy, between the bride of Jesus and Israel. Of course, not Israel that doesn't know Jesus Christ, and not hate. If we love Jesus, if we have received His salvation, we cannot hate Israel at all. I mean, we cannot, because Jesus is God, but as man, He's from Israel. When He comes and He establishes His kingdom, He's gonna reign from Israel, So we cannot hate Israel. We cannot. Okay. And also somebody from Israel that is a believer in Jesus, they cannot hate the Gentiles. And, it's the same way. So anyways, what a great chapter. This is a great chapter. So much to learn here. And hopefully we'll continue with chapter 13 tomorrow. Bye-bye.